We've managed to use user testing for a number of years with great success. But what's been disappointing from time to time is when we're working with a publisher who isn't bought into it. A lot of the time because they don't understand the difference between user testing for a usability standpoint and focus testing. And sometimes that ends up, we've had conflicts between what the usability test data is telling us about consumer preferences and issues, and the QA team on the publisher side becoming very opinionated about something. Things like difficulty curves and that sort of thing, especially making games too easy. Do you have any advice about selling through usability to a publisher or overcoming the conflicts between usability data and what a QA department and a publisher might say?
Yeah, I guess I haven't really been in that situation myself because companies I worked for have been internal development studios and the publishers have always been really on board with user testing. But I guess, it depends on your relations with the publisher, I suppose, but perhaps getting them involved in the process or, showing them the results or, communicating and educating. I don't have any experiences really to draw on for that, but sorry.
You said you had some issues with the build process. What kinds of things were those, and how did you get over them? And also, what kind of auto tests did you use?
I wasn't really involved with any of the auto testing, so I can't really tell you about that. I suppose the build issues, I guess, first off, we weren't really creating builds that were getting tested prior to the sessions because everything was so rushed, and we didn't have really the QA resources, and people kind of just would make a branch, and then we would test the branch in the playtest sessions without it really getting sufficient testing beforehand, which was kind of pointless actually. So I guess over time, we just sort of started making builds earlier that would get sufficient testing and get fixes integrated, and it was just all a bit rough and rushed at the start, I suppose.
Let's go to some more questions tonight. I've actually got one that's a little bit different. Just wondering if you wanted to share any stories about anything that's really surprised you that's come out of user testing. So I don't know if some of the things you probably saw coming, but if there's anything that you really didn't. And sorry, we obviously didn't prepare this, so I may have put Penny on the spot a little bit.
I guess I always find it quite educational to watch your target audience play your game and to really find out how different they are than you are or what you think they are. So you're looking at an FPS audience and we've made this really story-intensive game and a lot of players, really, they were like 18-year-old guys and they totally would ignore the story and they were just interested in killing and blood and why isn't there more blood and that should explode bigger and they're just like, but what do you think about the story? Like, I didn't listen to that, so I don't know. I find it always educational and quite surprising and quite good to get in touch with what the players really do expect and what their priorities are.
I think it's pretty interesting that you guys would use a webcam. I've done some testing before in some video games, and I've never heard of anybody using webcams. I'm just wondering what kind of data and education you get out of just looking at people's facial expressions and what you grabbed out of that.
Oh, I found it particularly useful just to videotape the interviews in particular, so people who didn't come to the sessions could just sit down and watch the player actually just explaining the game. I think that was where the major benefit came from. And apart from that, just I didn't really conduct any specific analysis on their their emotions or their feelings are based on like their facial expressions or anything like that. So yeah, I guess it was just mostly more encompassing video for people who couldn't attend the sessions to get an idea of the player's experience.
How do you minimise the potential for poor quality data when running internal usability testing with your team?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
How do you minimise the potential for poor quality data when running internal usability testing with your team?
So where your team is actually playing the game, you just have to keep that in mind. Like I think the most important thing is to run tests with your target audience. And obviously your team playing the game and giving you feedback is going to be totally biased. But generally, if they don't understand something, if they're confused about something, there's just no way that when you ship it, the player is going to understand it. So I think it's good in those respects, and it's just good to take it beyond the design team and get everyone's feedback and input it. So I don't treat that data really the same as data from your target audience, but it's definitely useful to get everyone's opinions and feedback and input. But obviously you keep in mind that this is your development team, they're very close to the project, and they might not even play these games themselves.
I'm just wondering, for anyone who hasn't done any of this testing before and is looking to get started, whether you can share any resources like a book or a website that you recommend just to get started with?
I think the Microsoft user research group actually has some quite good papers up on their website about the processes that they use. They've got a very large games testing, like 40 full-time testers or something like that. I think some of their papers are quite good, but it's been a while since I've read a textbook on usability testing, so I'm not really sure if there are any particularly good resources on that.
Okay, well, I think we've pretty exhausted the questions, so thanks again, Penny, for your time, and